What's going on, everyone? Brett McGrath. I lead marketing at Pneuma. I host the Search Economy podcast. This is the first time since we have been doing this show that I have jumped on and rode solo. There's no David, there's no guest. It's just me, and there is a lot on my mind, and I think it is good to reflect on the role of the marketer in the search economy. And what I want to do in this episode is talk about my experience, what my area of focus is, and what I am looking to achieve closing out this year and going into next year. We just got off of quarterly planning, and I feel like that is a really good topic to dissect, to talk about how we work with other functional leaders in order to elevate our position in the search economy. So I'm going to talk about 5 ways post quarterly planning I have thought about that, and I am using that in order to push marketing forward at Pneuma. Before I do that, wanted to update everyone on a couple things because I feel like these are good topics to dig into and dissect and understand how the things that I'm thinking about and working on now impact Pneuma's future position in the search economy. We are in the process right now of designing and developing a brand new brand at Pneuma. How do we differentiate ourselves? Well, I believe a big way to differentiate ourselves from other SEO, PPC, website shops is to lean hard into our visual identity. It needs to be something that catches people's attention, serves as a pattern interrupt, and stops people in their tracks and wants them to lean in. We are so busy. We search, we dig in, we explore, and we're constantly scrolling. I always have felt that a great visual identity can help not only elevate your position in the search economy, but can help you win new customers. We are attracted to brands who have good visual identity, and that's something at Pneuma we're really thinking about right now. We're having conversations, and they're not easy conversations. They're very hard conversations about who we want to be, what we want to represent. I think the visual identity of Pneuma going into 2025 will be the output, but going into these conversations, we're digging into messaging, positioning, all the things that represent a brand, and we're doing that, and we're trying to do that in a quarter time frame. So it's like a sprint, but also doing quality work and working with partners who are helping us think about these things a little bit differently. And I think that's a really good thing. And David and I dropped the episode last week about selecting vendors, and we were talking about vendors from the perspective of SEO. I think a lot of the times we get sold a bag of goods, or I've been sold a bag of goods on the SEO side, and it hasn't lived up to the expectations of what was sold at the beginning of the deal. And so why it's really important to evaluate vendors that are not only going to do the work, but are going to do the work that and make it personal to you and your brand. And so while we talked about that from an SEO perspective, I think that a lot of what we said last week applies with any type of vendor. And so when we were digging into visual identity, we went through a process and had conversations and are really excited about who we're working with. And it helps us break free from just our own thoughts. And so I think that's really good. If you're tuning into the Search Economy podcast, if you're following Pneuma on a regular basis, coming into 2025, we are going to start showing up in a bigger and better way than ever before. I already know that. We're about, maybe a quarter into this engagement, but I'm very excited about how we will be talking about Pneuma and how we will look from a visual design perspective. The other update on the Pneuma front that I felt obliged, since I've got some space to talk about, is the launch of Web Concierge. So at the end of last quarter, we launched Web Concierge, which is personalized assistance for your site without even having to lift a finger. I have been in this mode before where I have launched a new website at a previous company, and then once you launch, you just kind of move on to the next thing. That doesn't always work, and most of the time, it never works. I think the website is your most important digital asset, and it is almost living, breathing, and should be viewed as a product. And so my perspective, it is always really important to make sure that someone is managing the website and someone is making sure that not only are the copy updates on point, making sure that all the opportunities and goals that you have are staying on track, but making sure that what you're putting out on a regular basis or what currently exists plays within the algorithms of search engines like Google, right? There's so many changes that happen on a regular basis, and we launch our websites and we kind of set it and forget it sometimes. We're busy people, right? We're owners, we're marketers, we've got so many other priorities. But that's what I'm excited about Web Concierge. So Web Concierge is a service as a marketer who's launched a website before for a new brand that I've always wanted. So this is having a central point of contact to help add blog copy, text, fix anything that's broken, help integrate with third-party systems, designing, development, copy, all that production work that seems so overwhelming when we've got a list of other priorities, building of landing pages. If that sounds like something you've dealt with or have needed and you're trying to save yourself some time, make sure you check out Web Concierge. You can just go to Pneuma's website. There'll be a link in the show notes. You can find it under our services tab. All right, so I want to talk about quarterly planning. My first experience at Pneuma was starting from getting on a plane, flying over to Denver and sitting in a room and trying to absorb as much information as possible. So I started first day quarterly planning, and it was like a fire hose of information. I was trying to document in all through the documentation, through the process, through the gathering of information. That's where I understood as a marketer, one of my biggest priorities and one of the things that we needed most is we needed a narrative. We needed a story to tell. And from that conversation came out of the search economy, which then turned into our story, turned into our content. And basically that's why we're here today. So I always view those meetings where you take a step back, put down the work and have conversations or absorb as tremendous opportunities for you and your brand. There was that, and that happened right when I started. And then flash forward 6 months later, I'm back on a plane. We're going to Denver. We're sitting in a room, 48 hours, just hitting all of the points that are going to help us hit our goals and push forward going into next year. As I reflect on that experience, I think there are 5 different things that I want to talk about in this episode. Then we'll get out of here. And I think those things are important because I think those items can help elevate our position in the search economy from a marketing perspective if we are engaged in regular meetings with the rest of our team. So number 1, cross-functional collaboration. Cross-functional collaboration in the search economy is paramount. We as marketers default, I think, for working in silos, trying to do all of our work, and then we ship it out without gathering feedback or without involving other people. The more you involve other people on your team in your work, the more support you're going to have for that work. And that it came true in those conversations, talking about what's working, talking about what's not, getting buy-in, getting feedback. And when you get buy-in and feedback on new content, new campaigns, new strategies that you're rolling out, those team members are going to be more invested in helping build and support that work. What I like to do is start to involve those roles, start to help them visualize how they can be a part of the process. And if you are able to think about cross-functional collaboration and approach it from a perspective of I can't do this alone, I'm going to need your help, you're going to get really, really good results. So that conversation or those conversations over the last 48 hours in Denver really put a light bulb in my head to say, okay, I've been working with other team members, but now I need to get everyone integrated in my work. This is kind of a step down from that, but this is partnering with your CEO. I think if you listen to this podcast, you can tell David is a passionate business owner, CEO, founder, all the roles, has built Pneuma kind of from the ground floor through hard work and just delivering results for clients. And now as David scales the business, there's a lot of stories David has. There's a lot of approaches, a lot of strategies, and a lot of things that I have learned from him. And my job as a marketer to help elevate Pneuma's brand in the search economy is to give David a platform, give him space, and pull out information for him, because that information can be used in campaigns, copy, and whatever else I'm working on. So that was one of my takeaways. It's like, how can I make David more of an evangelist than ever before for the Pneuma brand? Then we align with the sales leader. So Jim's been on this podcast, but I think marketing falls so flat when it's not aligned with your sales leader. Early on in my career, I can remember CRO and CMO of a brand that I was working at that was in hyper growth mode, basically were aligned at the hip, and they always spoke to sales and marketing together, and they talked about the importance of collaboration. I've always viewed marketing as a role of working for sales. Our job is to create and develop pipeline for sales. And the more conversations you have with your sales counterparts, the better position you're going to have in the search economy. You need your sales leader, you need your salespeople bought into what you're doing from a marketing perspective. And I think as we aligned on rocks, as we aligned on goals, going into 2020, closing out 2024 and going into 2025, I felt really good about the position that and the collaboration opportunities that marketing has with sales at Pneuma. Next, it's understanding client journey, trying to understand after a deal gets closed, what happens next. The more marketing can get tied into what is happening on onboarding, what's happening with customer support, what's happening with customer success, what's happening with renewals, the better marketing you're going to do. I've always felt that the best marketing gets done in the search economy when you have social proof, when you have testimonials, when you can validate what the work that you're putting out there through your customer network. And that is a big approach that I'm going to be leaning into for the rest of this year and beyond. How can we use Pneuma's platform to make our clients look like heroes and tell those stories? We're working really, really hard at Pneuma right now to make sure we deliver an A+ client experience. And my job as a marketer is to be able to promote that to our audience, because that's going to help us differentiate. And finally, it's just the power of quarterly planning. I said all this stuff. I'm still hyped up. I'm still fired up from quarterly planning. And it's really hard. It's hard to peel back. It's hard to rearrange your work. It's hard to adjust schedules, to get away from the regular routine. But I promise you, if you sit in a room, it can be quarterly planning, it can be weekly planning, whatever type of planning, but sit in a room with your counterparts who work in different functions and have those conversations. Try to understand what they're working on, what they care about, what they get out of bed anymore in the morning, problems they're facing. The more information you can pull from the rest of your functional team, the better results you're going to get in marketing, and the more informed marketing you're going to do. That's what's on my mind right now. There is a lot of things going on at Pneuma, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited to continue the show, and I appreciate everybody out there checking this out on a regular basis. I have a lot of passion for the search economy. I believe this is the era in marketing we're operating in right now, and Pneuma is here to help elevate different brands in that search economy, and that's what we wake up every morning doing. I'm Brett McGrath. I lead marketing at Pneuma, and I'm excited for this. We might get a couple more solo episodes out of me here running soon, as we are running 100 miles an hour in a million different directions. We'll have David back here shortly, but appreciate it. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.